tip.
Good afternoon. It's December 24th, 2024. You're listening to a Little Column A, Little Column B, hosted by Will Limonos and co-hosted by Zach Bishop. How are you doing today, buddy?
What is going on, Will? Merry Christmas, and we are in the future. There was a boxing match over the weekend, and there was an AI judge. Would you like to see AI referees, judges, in other sporting events?
Some of these guys are robots. Yeah, I mean, do you think you're going to feel better about yelling about them, and they're going to care even less about yelling at them? Is that what we want? Do we want an emotionless soundboard?
I think it would feel worse, or it's not going to feel as good in the moment because you're not yelling at a real person. But I think later on, once you kind of sober up a little bit and realize, wow, I was just yelling some very unfortunate things at these real people, and then it's like, oh, it's just a computer. It's not real. It doesn't have feelings. Doesn't feel pain. It's not upset. I think you would feel better later on.
I imagine most referees also go home to their families. And that's probably a similar situation for all the players that they should be able to relate to. We actually had a lot of ejections this week in the NBA. The Celtics got one. Embiid got into something yesterday. Did you see that? He freaked out yesterday.
We played 14 minutes. Maybe he's just getting ready for the Christmas games. Maybe he said, you know what? I need to get out here early.
I didn't even think. I thought he had an argument on the foul. I think a lot of these games have gotten more physical, and he was physical in a play that I think he had an advantage on. So I already didn't like the call, and then he obviously deserved the technical, but apparently he kind of barely made contact trying to convince the female referee, which I don't understand at this point. You've already gotten one technical. Why are we still talking at this point? This is where you did deserve to get tossed, but like I said, I didn't think it was that bad of a foul, and I think if he doesn't make any contact here, he probably doesn't get tossed. But I don't know. I've never seen an explosion like that. I know the season's not going well for him, but that's the kind of stuff he does have control over, right? Like you can't control the injuries and all this other stuff, but can you control maybe not getting tossed in a game 14 minutes in?
I mean, the way the season's going, it's just the optics of it are just awful. It just seems like at every turn, Embiid just can't get out of his own way. And I agree with what you're saying of, the injuries are frustrating to him, to his teammates, but this is just that mental toughness of just walk away. Yeah.
In a game you're actually going to play, you can't get tossed in. You missed enough time. There's no wiggle room. You've removed everything from it. But we'll get to NBA at the end of this. We got to get through some NFL picks. We got games all over the place this week. We're kicking off tomorrow, Wednesday. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas tomorrow. And we're getting football and basketball all day, Zach. Are you ready for this? Are you more excited for the sports or the other holiday aspects of tomorrow?
Oh, it's just a nice mix. I mean, there's been football and basketball on Christmas for so long now that it's just part of it. I do like now that the Celtics are better that they get more of the prime time slot rather than the noon. Hey, they're just a big market time slot. So the later in the evening is a little easier to manage with the family around.
It's a lot. We got a full day. All right, NFL. No reason to even mention our picks, but we're going to make them this last week. This is last week? Next week. One more week. Let's get into it. Wednesday, tomorrow, 1 o'clock, Kansas City Chiefs at the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're getting some good games. This is a fun one where I think at one point Patrick Mahomes was, injured last week? Is that what we went into last week's podcast? And then both of us were like, nope, Kansas City plus buddy. Can't say no. And then you were like, Mahomes might even play. And I was like, I think they'll win even if he doesn't play. And then he ends up playing, ends up practicing an entire week. What are we doing here? How did this happen? Because at the beginning of this story from last week and the connection to the end of the story this week, how did we get here, Zach?
I mean, we discussed it on the pod of coming off a Sunday. He didn't finish the game last week, but both of us were looking at it going, this guy is just like a superhuman. I think he's going to play. And I didn't even trust the Texans. And so it was, if I have a chance at plus money for the Chiefs, it's like, I'm going to take it. And this game wasn't particularly close. And Mahomes is, throwing for touchdowns, running for touchdowns, no problems. So I don't know what they're able to do with his ankle, but I mean, it switched so fast. I mean, we were discussing it and it doesn't look like he's going to play. And then it was the next day. He had a full week of practice.
And he said there's other guys on the team that are just as beat up as him and they're practicing.
Ultimate teammate move right there. like this is almost like the reverse Embiid of like it's the injuries are not the same, but like playing through the injuries, making that sort of comment, saying, "Hey, my teammates they're fighting, so I'm gonna fight too." It just it just makes him so likable, and even if it's all BS, it helps with the optics.
Nothing but good news for Kansas City at this point. I feel very good about their matchup tomorrow. I think they'll handily take care of Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh did not have as successful of a week previously. They faced the Baltimore Ravens and didn't they just don't have an offense without Pickens. It's amazing they removed one guy and this suddenly just doesn't work at all. And I don't see what's going to work this week. I mean, even if he does come back, even if he is
I did
healthy,
see
he hasn't
just
practiced.
this afternoon he will be playing tomorrow.
All right. Well, I mean, what are we getting out of this guy who hasn't practiced, is allegedly recovering from a hamstring injury? I'm not saying he's like washed immediately, but tomorrow was an even short week for the rest of the players too, and somehow I just think they have too many problems that they and not enough time to fix them. Like this will be, I'm going to be doubting Tomlin again. The timeline doesn't make sense. They looked even worse last week. Kansas City looked arguably one of the best they could have looked last week. So this is everything against Pittsburgh. So I'm doubting them. If they pull this one off, this is another one where why do we continue to doubt Tomlin? But I'm doubting him. I just feel good about the Chiefs. It seems like Mahomes doesn't have anything wrong with him, which is like no reason to not pick them. This team's 14-1. Is this the week they're going to lose?
I'm not picking against Mahomes. I can't do it. It seems like they're on a collision course to go right back to the Super Bowl, and they can't even score over 31 points, but they're going to do just enough. And I think even with Pickens back, the Steelers they just don't have enough. It's going to be interesting because I think both these teams tend to play a ton of close games and are able to pull it out. But I think the Chiefs have the edge,
With
even being on the road.
with Pittsburgh being so desperate at the wide receiver position, do you think it was a mistake and just overlooked by everyone that Deontay Johnson didn't just go back there? Like I know things soured out a little bit, but I mean, what's the best business decision for everybody at this point? Would it not just be Deontay going back? I mean, this was the week they needed him. This last week they would have been so much better off, and he was available.
I I disagree. I disagree. He's going to his fourth team in the calendar year. This could be his third team this year. I think the Steelers they know what to expect, and they know, hey, super talented, but whatever is going on, it doesn't work. Think about it. Think of all the problem receivers that Tomlin has had in the past that has been able to kind of cover for. And if this is the situation that even Tomlin can't you stomach you, I think there's a problem there, and I hope that it gets situated. But if you're on this many teams, you're going to run out of opportunities.
I agree. I just think the last time we saw him be successful was with Pittsburgh, and if Pittsburgh is so desperate for wide receiver and he's suddenly available in a scenario where he is struck out and has no one else to blame but himself for the last couple of places. I think he was with Baltimore for 2 weeks and was suspended the first week, and then they cut him the second week.
Yeah,
Well, I would have thought maybe bringing him home in a team that was desperate and he actually could have had a role to fill would have just made more sense than everyone was overthinking with it. But, maybe relationship's sour enough that it's just nothing he can go back on. All right, that is the first game on Christmas. The next game on Christmas, we're going to have the Baltimore Ravens at the Houston Texans. Just mentioned Baltimore a little bit as they cut Deontay Johnson. And I noticed the second they cut him that Bateman just suddenly got a lot better. Do you think that has any relation?
I mean, you're going to get more opportunities. I kind of thought that Bateman just didn't quite have it. He was, fantasy darling a couple of years ago, and then got the injury, and then coming back from it, it just seemed like maybe it was past. But I like it. It's almost like a throwback.
Yeah, I think they need Bateman to be even his old self. It's been a weird offense this year, despite them having a very great season out of Derrick Henry and a pretty good Lamar season. That I don't think it's been a great receiver season. I mean, the tight end, it's not even Andrews catching most of the touchdowns. It's likely sometimes, and then it was Flowers, and then I just feel like they're searching for somebody every week. So when I see consistency with Bateman, it's like, can we just have a guy every week on this team? Maybe he'll be it. I hope so. I think he'll be it this week because once again, Houston, who we didn't like last week, is playing another good team in Baltimore. I mean, what is Houston going to do that you haven't seen all year? They can't force turnovers. They don't really play a lot of great defense. And honestly, I think we've been blaming the defense so much that we haven't really paid attention to the offense. Their offense doesn't look great either.
No, they've been kind of just meandering along and going against Lamar, and Lamar looks hot right now. And on paper, this looks really good for the NFL. You have four teams all above 500, all should be making the the playoffs. Except for some sort of amazing collapse that happens. But all these teams played each other on Saturday this past week, and none of the games were very competitive. And now you're having these teams play on extra short rest. So I think the Chiefs and the Ravens are gonna blow these teams out. I think you're gonna peek in as your opening presents and eating some food, and then you're gonna go, nope, that game's not close, and you're gonna be end up watching more basketball.
I think basketball is going to be the move, and I wonder if Netflix. Do you think they're going to second guess this at all? That they could have done basketball, maybe.
No,
No.
no, the basketball games, every basketball game could be close buzzer beaters, Steph Curry, everything, all the stars, and all the football games could be absolute blowouts. And the ratings for the NFL are still, they're just going to destroy. It's going to destroy the NBA. No, I think it'll be interesting. I think that Netflix has put themselves in a little bit of a hole with the live sports, with the fight. So I'm thinking with the NFL, like whatever had to go on ahead of time, like they can you imagine just like the number of meetings like in the offices leading up to this of this cannot be Mahomes is driving in the fourth quarter and people are tuning in and it's glitchy. It has to work flawlessly for them.
I think it will. I think they'll learn from the Tyson fight and some of the other live events they've had. The previous live events they've had have gone well. I think it was just the Tyson most recent one that actually had some buffering issues and some. I don't know. The Chris Rock one I didn't have any problems with. I know that's just a comedy special. Perhaps there's a simpler production with that. I don't know. Maybe not at all. I really don't know. But I think it'll go all right, and I think it kind of has to. I mean, this is Christmas. I think you're going to have an audience available. I think that's one thing that they're all
I
doing right tomorrow by putting all these games in.
I think it might work out great for for families because this is going to be on Netflix. You're going to have an older generation that's going to go turn on their TV. They're going to go to CBS. They're going to go to Fox. They're going to go to NBC. Maybe they'll go to ESPN and go, "Hey, where is this?" And you're going to have to go talk to one of your younger relatives that says, "Hey, I have Netflix. Yeah, I can hook you up with the your smart TV. Yeah, we can watch it." And
No,
just a nice little bonding moment on Christmas.
see, you're saying bonding moment. I think tomorrow you're going to find out who actually pays for Netflix because they're the only ones that the account's going to work for. The sharing count's just completely done. The era is over, and tomorrow is going to be the day where whoever gets in it first is going to be the one that's in.
Ooh, you know what? Yeah, I didn't think about that. With Netflix really cracking down on that sharing.
So you're thinking it's
Oh
going to be
yeah,
a family like bonding moment. This is going to be the moment where it's going to be like, I don't know whose account is this now? Are we sharing this? Who's got the right on Christmas?
you're right. I didn't even think about that. That yeah, oh yeah, but dad's got it on at home, and you're going to your girlfriend's place, thinking, oh yeah, I can just Chromecast it on, or I can take a peek at it and realize that oh, you know what? I don't pay for this. Dad pays for this, and uh-oh.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the real hiccups tomorrow. I don't think it's going to be buffering. I think it's going to be the password sharing and the amount of account. I would love to know the amount of accounts that are created tomorrow. Just
Ooh,
out of
that'd be good.
like
That'd be a good stat to
I
know.
would love. They could just make this up, and because I'm going to believe it either way. I'm already convinced that this is going to be a massive problem tomorrow. That everyone's just going to be making their own account and then telling themselves they're going to cancel it in a week, and they're not. They're just not. But I'm excited for this. So we got two games tomorrow, and then we still have the Thursday game that'll be on Amazon. We're going to have the Seattle Seahawks at the Chicago Bears. We talked about the last two games. They look like they're better teams, and this one just doesn't. This is a Thursday. Maybe we could skip a little bit here. I mean, what are we prioritizing here?
I mean, the Bears have been bad for a while. I'm not going to ding them too much for getting beat by the Lions. The Lions are actual good, even though they're banged up. But yeah, the Bears are. Yeah, they've been sinking for a while, and even the Seahawks, they're just maybe they'll have some fight in them. The Bears are eliminated from the playoffs, so I'd be interested to see. It's always hard to tell whether a team's going to just kind of fold and play out the string, or then you got the team like the Cowboys that they get eliminated and then somehow they're playing better. It's like, wait a minute, guys, you guys know that you're eliminated. Like these games don't matter anymore. But I agree with you that maybe might not be must see TV on Thursday night, especially after getting some football on Wednesday. It's not the normal. Hey, it's been a few days. I could use some football.
Yeah, I wonder if those games are terrible that'll just hurt this game, and we'll just say, hey, maybe we just keep football for the weekends. Nobody can play off 2 days rest or no practice and all this general procedure stuff they take all week to do, they just can't do. Maybe that doesn't make sense. Let me ask you this about Seattle: do you think they are a running team or a passing team?
Neither.
Yeah, but they have like a decent offensive weapons, right? Like, so what are they just that balanced, or that bad at both, or that average at both? What?
I think they're just average at both.
Yeah,
I
maybe.
think Metcalf. I think he might just be done.
I mean, Jackson Smith and
Like
Jigba has been great.
you just don't. Yeah, you hear about him. You don't really hear about Metcalf anymore, and it seems too soon. But it's like he is not putting up the stats that he was in the past. He's not fantasy darling at all.
The running backs have been injured here and there with Kenneth Walker being out, but then Charbonnet would come in and have an awesome game. And then the 1 week where Kenneth Walker was out, and I was like feeling really good about Charbonnet coming in, just didn't connect. I don't know what this team is. They're not entirely eliminated. I imagine they will defeat the Bears, and I guess we don't need to spend any time on all that. But
Stay in the hunt.
they they have to win this week, and I expect they will. So we both got Seattle on Thursday. All right,
Mm-hmm.
next game Saturday, 1 o'clock. Los Angeles Chargers at the New England Patriots. Chargers had a pretty fun comeback actually last Thursday against Denver, a shocking comeback where Denver just stopped scoring, and maybe that's more of a blown lead by Denver, but I'll give the Chargers a little bit of credit, and they, very similar to Seattle, are very much alive here, and they have to win. New England, do we need to win? Do we want to win? Is there any scenario where we should win this game?
I bet you we play it real tough. I bet Drake makes a couple of nice plays, and we're just so gosh darn close.
It's just an all shucks game,
And
man.
it's so close. And then the coach does something idiotic in the fourth, and if only we had a coach that knew what he was doing, we could have won this game. It's it's an elaborate tank. It's tough to follow. If you're not plugged in.
All right, good news for the Chargers. Looks like Gus Edwards is going to be returning. That should be a big return for them. Good news for the Patriots is Drake May looks good. He looks comfortable, looks unbothered by weather. He looks unbothered by pressure. He looks unbothered by drops from his wide receivers because I'm bothered, but he seems fine with it. I don't know when that explosion is going to happen, but it's already happening on my couch. I don't know about you, but this plays every week just seems like he's getting an extra interception just tallied onto him by the guy that bobbles it and hands it off to the other team. I don't know what the solution is for that. But I do have good Mac Jones news as well. I know this is Patriots adjacent. He has now officially done more for the Patriots on the Jaguars than he ever did for New England by winning last week. True or false?
Rookie year, I would say not the most, because rookie year he was decent, and we had a good run. But I would say this is the second most for sure. And now we're in line for the second pick.
I think it's a massive swing for us. Excited that we are at least have the opportunity to get the second pick. There's still something behind in my back deep in my mind about that Drake May thing that you just talked about. Like maybe he just lights up the Chargers. Like if we just put up 4 touchdowns suddenly, can we win this game? And suddenly then our pick
No,
is sabotaged.
no, because we're gonna find out at some point. Not this year, but next year, the year after. Is Mayo up to this task, or is he actually really good at this and he's tanking on purpose? Because when we were in the red zone, I think it was first and goal, and we needed to score twice. So we were trying to score as fast as possible, save as much clock as possible. And what's the first thing that we do is we run the ball. So the clock continues to run, and it hits the 2-minute warning, basically ending the game. I mean, then it goes to, okay, you for sure are going to need to go for the onside kick, where before you score and then you have all 3 timeouts and the 2-minute warning. Man, things get interesting. You could kick away, try to get a stop. I mean, it's the Bills' offense, so it's tall order. But I mean, I'm trying to think of the game, but this was just discussed in the past 2 weeks about just throw the ball. Just throw the ball. If it's incomplete, cool. 5 seconds, you still have the 2-minute warning. But if you run the ball, you better for sure make it in, and it wasn't even particularly close.
Yeah, I got no notes. The Patriots are frustrating. It's either
we throw the ball backwards right on the goal line.
I can't tell. I was kind of gonna give them credit early on of these plays adding up and being like, is this just sophisticated tanking? Like, are we just being very obvious with this, or are we being very blatantly stupid with this? I don't know the true answer, and I'm starting to lean a little bit more towards we are making really bad, dumb mistakes very regularly, and some of them we're just putting ourselves in them. Like the play call, as you mentioned, the good risk at the goal line was the timing of the
I,
choices of clock management every week. It's it's it's
yeah, it's
frustrating,
not
but we're not
one.
supposed to be winning,
It's
so it's fine.
it's not one scenario. It just seems to be over and over again. So right now, as we're tanking, it's all right. You know, not the best, but okay. Overall, this is better off than winning. As weird as that sounds and feels, but I am concerned that next year, if we use the number 2 pick or we trade down and we remake this team that should be good and Drake, makes a step up, but if our coach is still making dumb decisions, it's going to sink the whole ship.
He's just going to do less press conferences. You'll feel better. All right, both got the Chargers.
Yeah. Yep.
Next Saturday game, Denver Broncos at the Cincinnati Bengals. Last week I told you Cincinnati was still alive. They won, and Denver lost, and everything is still alive. The Cincinnati Bengals do have a chance. Did you know that? Do you know what they need?
I believe you tried to explain it to me and you got to about the 4th thing and I said, this is ridiculous. Like, there's no way all this is going to happen. I'm not going to remember this.
It's happening. I think it's going to happen. All right, so now they kind of control their own destiny a little bit because Denver has to lose out, and they play Denver this week. So that's a little bit of control of your own destiny because they have to win out Cincinnati to have any chance. So they got to do that first. They're going to have Denver this Saturday, and they're going to have Pittsburgh next week. So if they can beat Pittsburgh next week, they at least control their own odds of winning out. All right. Next thing they need is Denver to lose to Kansas City next week. Is that possible? Maybe. Seems like I think Kansas City just does. Seem to win most weeks. They've almost won every week this week. So what's to say they can't do that next week? They also need Miami Dolphins and the Indianapolis Colts to lose at least one more game. The remaining schedule for Indianapolis is they'll play the Giants this week and they'll play Jacksonville at home next week. They're going to lose one of those games. Mac Jones to the rescue one more time. Can we thank Mac one more time? All right, maybe. All right. Last thing, Miami's schedule remaining is they will face Cleveland this week and they'll face the Jets next week, and they have to lose at least one of those games. Come on, Rodgers doesn't want to have one more win. His last victory as a quarterback ever. See, Cincinnati's going to get in. It's going to happen.
You are stacking so many things on top of each other. Your idea of controlling your own destiny is very different from mine. I'm looking at exactly what you said, but the odds they're giving it is that this is if the Bengals win their next 2, which they've been very good at putting up points and losing those games. So I don't think that's a guarantee. It's only a 24% chance to make the playoffs. That's if they win both of them.
They're going to beat Denver and they're going to beat Pittsburgh. Those are 2 wins. Are you picking them this week? Are you picking Denver this week or Cincinnati?
I'm picking Cincinnati this week.
All right,
but they could win both games. I still
already
think
halfway
they're
there.
Make the playoffs. No, you're not halfway there.
It's gonna happen. I'm gonna act like this is gonna happen until it doesn't.
You are going across this very rickety bridge, and there are a lot of planks that are broken, and a lot of ways you could just fall right through into this ravine.
I'm hoping for bad teams to remain bad. And that's not Cincinnati. All right, we both got Cincinnati. Fine, we don't need to talk about anything. Do you want to talk about Denver at all? I mean, their lack of scoring, they just turned it off. The offense just turned off in the second half. There's a blown lead. We're gonna
That was bizarre.
You know, I mean, this defense can't hold the other team forever. You gotta get some touchdowns, guys. Just something here. That's not gonna happen this week again. They're in trouble again.
That was not ideal, but I think it will be a little bit easier going against the Bengals non-defense.
All right, next game. Moving on, Saturday night, Arizona Cardinals at the Los Angeles Rams. The NFC West is a spicy division here. You're going to have the Rams in first at 9-6, Seattle at 2 at 8-7, Arizona at 7-8, and San Francisco officially eliminated at 6-9. So this is kind of a big game here. If you're Arizona, I'd say a must-win game if you want to have any chance at all here. I think they kind of have to. They might even need help.
Oh, I'm pretty sure Arizona's toast.
Are they toast? I was going to say they're going to need a ton of help, even if that was possible. I didn't bother to look at it, but either way, they are 2 games back from the Rams, and they could totally just sabotage the Rams season here. So I think there is a little motivation to controlling that. Do you think there's any chance they can get Trey McBride a touchdown this year?
I think this story is getting like too much attention. Who cares?
He's so good.
He's not like some like little kid or some sort of like someone that's sick and we need to like do this extra stuff. It's like just play football and it'll happen. I don't know. Like I think it was like kind of a interesting, cute story like a few weeks ago, and now just all right. He doesn't score touchdowns.
All right,
Okay.
fine, fine. We'll put the serious face back on. This is actually what I wrote here. It says, "Is this worse than rock bottom? You're barely 500, and you can't even beat the Carolina Panthers in a winnable division. If they'd won last week, this week would be very much in their control. Because, like I said, they're 2 games back of the Rams. If they'd won last week, they could have won this week, and who knows what happens. But instead, they lost to the Carolina Panthers, Zach, and they're still 7-8.
If,
They're not getting a
if
pick.
you if you lose to the Panthers, that pretty much signals, hey, we shouldn't be in the playoffs. And that's what happened. It was a must win, and they didn't win. So now their season's over.
Yep. So we both got the Rams then.
Both got the Rams.
All right. Next game.
Even if the Cardinals were still alive and you were playing the same game you were playing with the Bengals, I still and you don't pick the Cardinals. They're gonna screw you over. So it's the easy one this week. Rams.
All right, we didn't spend too much time in the next game. Sunday, 1:00, Indianapolis Colts at the New York Giants. Another ugly game for Indianapolis as they barely defeated the Tennessee Titans last week with a 28-7 lead that ended up being a 38-30 win. I couldn't imagine being a fan of either of these teams, but I mean, you got no defense in New York over there. I guess I'm going to go with Indianapolis for that reason. Who you got?
I'm gonna go with the Colts. Congrats if you in your fantasy league, if you somehow were able to get over him fumbling stupidly at the goal line the week before. This week he tripled his projections, and pretty sure this was one of those situations that if you had Jonathan Taylor on your fantasy team, you won.
Yeah, good for the Colts. Maybe they'll win again. All right, next game, New York Jets at the Buffalo Bills. Enigma is out. Maybe we should watch that instead of Rodgers. I don't know. Not the best Josh Allen game. I was actually kind of impressed that the Patriots were able to hold him off to kind of one of his worst games of the year, I'd say. But James Cook totally toasted us, just burnt us all day. No chance at all.
All day.
No chance for the Jets either. They're going to get smacked down again. I got Buffalo in this one. Who you got?
I'm going Buffalo as well. Did you see that the Jets scored 9 points the last game, but they didn't punt? Like, how is that possible?
I don't know. It's not enough. It's supposedly an offense that's supposed to be good. Continues to not be good. I don't understand the running game at all. Brees Hall.
Like, I'd expect the Bills to, could go a whole game and not punt, and that's because they score every time they touch the ball. But yeah, that was a weird quirk. I don't think that's ever happened before.
Yeah. All right, next game, Los Angeles Raiders at the New Orleans Saints. Both of these teams are going to draft a quarterback this year, I imagine. Technically, New Orleans was actually just eliminated last week. That's really all I got for this game. I got New Orleans. Who you got?
I am also going with New Orleans because they're at home and it's plus money. So that is going to be my bet of the week. So that's how you get some interest in this game is you gamble.
That's the American way. Way to go.
Yep.
Speaking of that attaboy here, Carolina Panthers at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The attaboy Bryce Young. Carolina's got a little bit of fight in them after a destroying victory to the Arizona season, completely eliminating them. Tampa Bay also not having such a successful week as they lose to Dallas. I kind of blame everybody but Baker. It was a terrible loss. I mean, do you blame someone else or do you blame Baker at all? Like, I just that interceptions. Some of these are just not even his fault. Again,
I mean, he throws an absolute bomb and his receiver's right there, and then just one of those goofy ones when they fall down and it's total 50-50 ball. The defender comes up with it. I don't think that's Baker's fault. And then on what ended up being the final play of the game, he does everything he possibly can, dancing around. There's two guys holding on to both of his legs, and he finds somebody open. But then that guy, what's he do? Fumbles it. Game over. I could have easily seen Baker marching it down the field. And yeah, I don't think it's his fault. Was very surprised on the outcome of the game. I really didn't expect the Cowboys to show up, and they showed up right from the very beginning.
I was shocked. I thought that was the most pride the Cowboys showed all year, and that's weird and sad, and I guess somewhat encouraging. I don't know. It's just strange timing, but it definitely hurt Tampa Bay's playoff chances. They are currently tied with Atlanta. So I guess they, in theory, could still win out in all of this. But had they won last game, they'd be in a little bit more control, seeing how they are playing Carolina this week. Right now, they're in the hunt. They are tied with Seattle, who's also 8-7, but they are just outside of it. So I'd say must-win game for them, and I'm going to lock in that they'll win this week as well. Baker can't have this much bad luck, as well as I want to see Baker in a playoff game. All the chaos I just saw every other week leading up to this, I want to see that in a game that actually matters. So I hope we get it. We'll talk about Atlanta a little bit later, but we'll definitely have some thoughts on that. So both got Baker this week. Let's get Baker in the playoffs. That's the new thing I got going here. Next game, Tennessee Titans at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Both teams need a quarterback here. Anything else you got to add?
This is good for the Patriots because one of these teams is going to win.
That's also great. Which team you rooting for here? I guess Mac Attack. Just get him another win.
I'm going with Mac Attack. Mac Attack at home.
Yeah, I think he could do this one. This might be one he could do. But the second you start putting expectations on Mac, that's where it all goes wrong here. So maybe this is a trap.
Big time.
Next game, Dallas Cowboys at the Philadelphia Eagles. You want to talk about a trap? Let's get spicy here. A spoiler for the Dallas Cowboys last week, and in a miserable week for Philadelphia. Hurts gets injured. Kenny Pickett is back. He's gifted, a 21-point lead and 5 Commanders turnovers and still doesn't win a game? Wow. Maybe we should be rethinking the backup position here. Should we have had somebody better than Kenny Pickett on this team?
I think that's a luxury that you can't always afford to have. And one of those situations that if Hurts isn't healthy, like the Eagles are in big trouble anyway. Would have thought with that much of a lead, just hands off to Saquon, could just burn this out. But yeah, the Commanders 22 points in the fourth quarter. Yeah, so wasn't good for the Eagles last week, and was not good for my fantasy team as an injury bug got me with Hurts. So that's coming to a very quick close, unfortunately. But yeah, I hope Hurts is not too banged up and is able to come back, because Eagles have had a decent year, and for like an injury like that to just derail it, it's just not fun.
It looks like Kenny Pickett might also be a little banged up as well. So even if he does play or Hurts doesn't play, it looks like he's not going to be 100% either way. I'm getting wild with this. I think there's blood in the water in Philly over there, and that Dallas would love nothing more than to spoil another game for another team right here. So I'm picking Dallas. I got money line first half, plus 250, and money line game plus 370. I just think Philly is going to just tank this week, recover, get back into everything. And this will mean nothing. They'll just wipe this from the memory. But I think Dallas is going to go all over this team. Just based on everything we saw last week. I mean, the whole second half of that, this team has a 21-point lead and still can't win. It's going to be 0-0 at the start of this game. What's going to happen now?
What was the Cowboys? What was the money line?
First half money line plus 250. The game money line plus 370.
Gotcha. Locking it in for you.
Lock it in. All right, so you're going Philly then?
Yeah. I think the Cowboys had their little fun, but I think that even if the Eagles are going with a backup QB, they still have Saquon. It Hurts isn't their whole team, and I think they could still beat the Cowboys.
I think you're underestimating how bad Kenny Pickett actually is. Like, I think he's detrimental.
Well, look who the Cowboys are throwing out there. It's not like you got Joe Montana out there.
Hey, Cooper Rush has put up some points at least. I'll give him that. You got to at least be able to.
He's gonna have a full week of practice. It's gonna be different than your starter goes down in the first quarter, and all of a sudden you thought you were gonna be hanging out on the sideline, and now you're in the game.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know what to do with either of these teams. Some of these games are so bad with such bad quarterback play. We just lost Hurts to make this even more unwatchable. Next game, Miami Dolphins at the Cleveland Browns. I mean, is this game even better? Is Tyreek back? I mean, DTR, I think, is better at running the ball than throwing the ball, and I think the rest of the league knows it. I imagine Miami's going to know it this week. I got Miami. This is going to be ugly. Who you got?
Yep. Give me Miami. The Browns aren't even rolling out Jameis anymore. This is just the Dolphins should score points, but Cleveland, it's going to be cold at this time of year. I think this is going to be real ugly.
Next game, Green Bay Packers at the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, Green Bay, what a clean sweep that was last night. 34-0 over a very ugly New Orleans team. No Kamara. No, I don't even know who they started at quarterback. Just a bad game. This is a big game here. They'll be facing the Minnesota Vikings, who had a pretty good week again. They are 13-2. Which game you like in the division here? This is just be a really big game. I hope this will be a good game here.
Yeah, this is gonna be one of the games of the week. I'm gonna go with the Vikings at home. It's just like a slight edge, but I could easily see the Packers getting the win. Yeah, man, just absolutely taking care of business against the Saints. Like exactly what a good team should do. Just absolutely blanket team. Very impressive.
Very, very impressed with the Packers. Yet I still continue to be just in awe of Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. Is there a better duo in the league?
Oh, Jefferson's he's so good.
Yeah, the plus on it. Addison too. I think it really the complementary of them is really great. I have no idea what they're going to do next year. I really don't want to talk about it. For this year, for right now, this Minnesota team's pretty good. Despite the Packers looking good last night, I'm going to stick with them. So both got Minnesota in that game. Next game, Atlanta Falcons at the Washington Commanders. Some exciting weeks for both these teams here. We had a Penix debut, and we can talk about the now what with Kirk Cousins. I don't know if he's too expensive as a backup, if they should cut him. I don't know who else would want him. The Commanders.
Who could have foreseen this happening?
We could do that right now. What do you think? What would you do with this? There's no way he could stay with the team, right?
It seemed like an odd time to bench Cousins, where you still very much have a chance to make it. Has not played super well this year. I said that coming in. He's coming off of an injury. I don't think you just pencil him in for what he was doing before. And then after you sign him, then immediately you go and draft Penix, who I would say is right in the mix of all the other rookie guys. Of all right, no, if he was on a different team, I would have thought the same thing. That we did with Drake. What a lot of these other teams are doing. Of okay, you start him for a little bit, or you start the old guy, then you bring him in when the season's like basically over. So yeah, very odd. And yeah, this is really like everyone talked about in the offseason of why are you gonna have two quarterbacks like this?
It wasn't a pretty game for Penix, but I don't think he's tanked enough or looked bad enough that he's going to lose this job quite yet. I just don't know what you do with Kirk.
You can't pull it after one game.
No, but he could have. I actually think you can. I've seen Nathan Peterman start a game. All right, that you can throw five interceptions in the first half.
Peterman is totally different than
he didn't do that
as like a high draft pick.
He didn't do that. So that's more of the point is that you can really poop your pants, and he didn't. All right, he looked like adequate and that like, he deserved to be out there, and that he wasn't going to get hurt or killed out there. So that's like a plus. The rookies when you first throw them in there that first game, man, you don't know what you're getting. It could be anything. So I'd say overall, there
have been worse performances, that's for sure.
For sure.
But it was against the Giants, so you would have really hoped that there would have been a little more of a.
He didn't have any juice.
Spark.
Yeah, he didn't. Yeah, he didn't have. It was still kind of a game management statistical game for a guy that was supposed to be a little bit more upside.
But it was one game. So.
One game, and he'll be facing another quarterback, also a rookie, at an exciting sloppy win. Comeback against Philly. We kind of talked about that. Jaden Daniels is fun. That was fun last week. Just seeing. Maybe I just hate Philly this much. It's coming out of me. But I really enjoyed watching that comeback and just the complete collapse of Washington finally getting something after they've really collapsed the last couple of weeks. So finally, kind of being on the other end of that. Do you think they'll be on the other end of it this week? What do you got?
I think Jaden and the boys. I think they're gonna destroy young Penix and the rest of the Falcons at home. It'll be chilly, but yeah, I feel good about them winning.
I went the other way. I actually think Penix is going to come out and kill this Commanders team. I think this Commanders defense is not very good. I think the Giants defense was just more of a first game nervousness and that he's got that first game out of his way. And this is the game where he's going to play another bad defense back to back. Eventually he'll play a good defense and probably get crushed. But I don't think this Washington team is that. They had a whole bunch of turnovers, and if they didn't get a bunch of turnovers or give up a bunch of turnovers last week, things would have went completely different too. I mean, this is a game where I think Daniels threw like 5 touchdowns with 5 interceptions. Like that's Jameis Winston kind of stuff. Like
Jameis Winston, yeah.
That's not good. And
it's
if
fun.
If he does anything like that, or both these guys do something like that, I think this is a chance for it's a tighter game, and maybe Atlanta just kind of sneaks this out. It's not like Washington's played with the lead very well. Even if they jump out, I mean, they've blown lead after lead all these past couple weeks.
All right, I trust the Commanders much more than I trust the Falcons.
All right, that's going to be Sunday night. That's actually kind of fun as a future league sort of thing where you get two rookies debuting that. All right, Monday night, last game here, Detroit Lions at the San Francisco 49ers. Detroit continues to be
what could have been here.
The injuries on defense, I think we're up to 16 players did not play on 16 starters didn't play on their defense. I don't even know how the numbers add up. Are there even that many players on the field at one time? I don't think so, but a lot of guys out. Their defense looks miserable. There's a Montgomery injury that he's willing to hold out on getting surgery in the opportunity that he might play in the playoffs. Should he maybe be rethinking that and that just get ready for next year because this defense has so many injuries that this just might not be the year?
I think I think you have to hold off. I think you have to hold off and try if you get the opportunity.
Man,
I don't think you can look at the injuries. It's because if it was basketball or if it was baseball, there's a lot more games where this is if they're if they're the one seed, it's just a couple of games and that's the Super Bowl. And if you can play in that, I think you have to hold off.
all right. I guess it is just a couple weeks at this point. The duo isn't going to be broken next year. Like this needs to work again next year, and these guys are going to have more than just one shot this year. And it's like such a wounded team that I know is having a good year, and I don't want to call this year a failure. I just don't like they're going in hobbling into the playoff despite being a dominant team most of the year. And I just think I don't have a good confidence on them. Like I think they'll be better than what I've seen out of San Francisco the past couple of weeks, so they'll win this week. But the second the playoffs start, I don't know. I don't feel as good about it. Do you? Like you're not worried about any of this?
I, I I mean, obviously, I'm worried. I mean, we talked about like the past couple of weeks of like all these injuries adding up, but I think to just fold and just go, no, just not our year, and not even take like a swing at it, I think it is silly. Things change so quickly in football. Next year, some games don't go your way, and then maybe you are healthy, but you're just not as good as you were this year, and now you're not even making the playoffs.
All right, you got any other NFL bets?
Nope, just the one.
I placed a whole bunch today. I like Jackson Smith and Jigba to score an anytime touchdown plus 170, and I like Lad McConkey anytime touchdown plus 145.
Ooh, sticking with Lad.
Lad's good, and Lad's important to that team, and they have to win this week. So the Patriots don't have anything to put up against anybody. So like I just imagine in a must-win game for them where they're like, what's the formula that works the best on our offense? It's Lad. So let's go to that. I think that'll happen. I think the same thing with Seattle and Jackson Smith and Jigba. It's what's the only formula that kind of works for us most weeks? It's that one. In must-win games, I think they got to go to their go-to guys. All right. Speaking of go-to guys, college football had some playoff games. First time ever. Zach, how was it?
Home playoff games. We've been doing playoffs for a while now. The atmosphere's pretty electric, but yeah, real duds of games.
Real
Not
dud.
one was close.
I'm happy to hear you already bring up the home field. That was the only thing I liked about all of it. See, I thought that was awesome. If there's any way we can continue to do that and do that for more, even of the other games, I don't know how that works, but I think the home games are the way to go with this in the future. I don't think we need to do neutral site things as limited as possible. Like make the home games for as many of these games as you possibly can. How do you feel?
On top of just not just like them being at home, so you have the fans is the weather as well. The bowl games are normally played where it's warm or in a dome, and even the playoff games in the past, like you're saying, like it's neutral sites. It's you don't have to worry about weather at all. And then Friday night, I mean, it was one day off, but coming into it like that, the night before and the morning of in South Bend, it was snowing pretty good. And when they're out there, you could tell like, ooh, it's extra cold. And I just think that playing in the cold is part of football. Not all the games have to be where it's ridiculously cold. The Green Bay where it's -2 degrees and all that. But I think that it definitely should be a part of it. And if you are a team that plays in the North, if you can use that to your advantage, that you should.
I think in some ways it's almost rewarding that obviously the goal is to win the championship of all this. But if you're a team that got a bye and you kind of missed out on, I guess you get the next week or you get this week, right? These will be home games, right? All right, so I guess you still
no. These are bowl games.
These are bowl games, so these are all neutral sites. All right, yeah. So you kind of missed.
It's just the first round. So yeah, it is kind of a trade off of okay, you get the bye, you don't have to play at all. But if you don't get the bye and you're the better or the higher ranked team, you at least get a home game.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I don't know. I guess I kind of look back and now that I know the results to all of my sports attempts in college that we didn't ever winning, that it was kind of like, could we just have a really good senior night instead? Like that would be way better than me getting my ass kicked in a game that could have almost mattered. It didn't matter.
two hours away, and there's
Yeah.
not many fans there.
Yeah. No. When we finally show up to the tournament and just get completely destroyed, yeah, that I'd rather not be the last. I'd rather just have the senior night where it's like, you remember that home game where just everybody showed up and it was
Yeah, that
awesome.
was fun.
Yeah, that was cool. Let's do that again. How do you feel about the parity of college? Like, do we let too many teams in? Like, is this too much for parity, or this is just how it goes sometimes?
I think that's just how it goes sometimes. I mean, the more games you have, the more like it goes both ways. The more chances you have for blowouts, but the more chances you have for close games. And I think that because all of these games, the first round were blowouts, I don't think we should just all of a sudden be making changes or having less games. I think there could be some adjustments made with the ranking. They're doing it now where it's the conference champions get the top four, but I'm wondering if maybe the better model is like for March Madness of you win your conference, you're automatically in the tournament, but you're not guaranteed any specific seed. And then maybe these games would be a little more evenly matched. But I think this just happens sometimes. And it was 4 games that we would not have had last year. So it's more football.
Do you think we're closer to adding more games or removing games? Well, we never
I think
remove
we're going to
games.
keep it this way for a little bit.
You think?
I think there'll be more games added in the future. But I think for right now, it's like, all right, well, let's just see how this goes. We haven't even finished these playoffs, so I think it'd be rash to try to make decisions after one round.
I thought the home games were such a big success that alone is like where we could do more of this sort of stuff. I also kind of like letting more teams in and just letting it settle out themselves. I mean, everybody's like, oh, we should have been in, we should have done this. And it's like you kind of got in and then you got your ass kicked and then shut up and go home now. Like it's spoken for. It's been decided. We let the teams decide. That's how it worked. And now the arguments should calm down, settle down, and
Yeah,
not really be an argument anymore.
like last year, if it had all fell out the same way, Texas would have been 5. They would have been the Florida State of last year of right at the door. You're so close, but rather than playing for a national championship, you're playing in some bowl, and barely anybody cares about it. Even knows when it's on TV. But now they're 5th. You play Clemson. They just put a hurting on Clemson, and now they get to play Arizona State, who is the 4 seed, and now they get a chance to prove it on the field, not theoretical, not looking at, well, we beat this team by this much, and you only beat this team by this much, and when they played 2 months before it was this much, and no, let's do it on the field, mano y mano.
I like it. All right, let's make some picks. I mean, I don't know when we're going to do the next podcast. We could easily do this. These games aren't until New Year's Eve. So it'll be Tuesday, December 31st. We get one game. You get number 3 Boise State versus number 6 Penn State. It's going to be 7:30 p.m. East Coast time. I don't know. You like the blue field? No blue field or the neutral field, but I think I'm going with Boise in this one. Did you see enough out of Penn State to think that this is a journey that's going to keep going?
I did not see enough out of Penn State. I'm going to go the silly route, and I'm going to pick Boise State because the whole Boise State legend arose from them upsetting Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl, and so they're playing in the Fiesta Bowl again. So I'm adding that together. They're a double-digit underdog. So yeah, upset city. Let's go.
All right, I got Boise as well. Shout out to Nate. This is going to be a rough Tuesday night. Forget New Year's. This is the real priority. All right, New Year's Day. We got 3 games kicking off. We have number 4 Arizona State versus number 5 Texas. 1 p.m. I think this is a huge game. I think Texas keeps this going right here. They seemed pretty dominant against Clemson. Your opinion on how good they are, so be it. I think that's a decent football program that's pretty competitive every year. So I'm going to say that's a pretty big win, especially in the fashion of all these games. All these games were dominant. There wasn't anything close. So anybody who kind of just whooped someone else's ass last week, I'm feeling good coming in. Am I foolish to feel that way? Who you got in this one?
Same.
Yeah. All right.
Yep.
Really? All right. No.
Yep. Go in Texas.
Are we overthinking the momentum a little bit here? I mean, these teams are arrested. They got all the time to watch film. They got a whole other game to watch on it.
I think it's like the rest versus rust. These are young, these are young men, and I probably East Coast bias, but Arizona State playing all the way on the West Coast, didn't see nearly as many of those games as I saw the Texas games, and yeah, I just like Texas. I think they're real tough.
Yeah, I don't really have the right argument, but just based on the resumes of what I've been studying roughly with all this, I don't think I would have Arizona State at 4. So this is kind of one where it's like, this is where I get to make up for that. All right.
Yep, I think they're misseeded, or not misseeded. That's where they had to be because of how the conference championship played out. But
yeah. But I think if this was a reseed and it wasn't a technicality of winning certain things, this probably lays out a little differently. Our next game, 5 p.m. Number one Oregon at number eight Ohio, or versus number eight Ohio State. Ohio State, man, what a day they had on Saturday. Basketball, football, and now they go into the bus off Oregon. Right, it's all over. We get to just stomp out the Buckeyes. Can it happen?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Oregon. Totally opposite of the last one. They're just nice and rested, but they haven't lost this year, and it's a little bit of recency bias. And I know that they took care of Tennessee, SEC, no problem. But like that Michigan loss, it's still like that. It's not that long ago, and just if there's any sort of a letdown, I could just like it might happen again. And yeah, so I would say Oregon is gonna take care of it.
I think even if it's if it's the Ohio State team that faced Michigan, they'll obviously lose. If it's the Ohio State team that played last week, I still think they lose. I think the Oregon team's good. I think the one thing that everyone more or less agreed on, I thought that was Oregon was really good and Georgia was really good. So I don't think they would have beat those teams. I don't think they've done enough this year or reached the ceiling of either of those teams this year. So I got Oregon in this one. I hope they get smacked. I hope this is a blowout. I've had enough of Ohio State. We'll get to the basketball. But next game, number 2, Georgia. Number 7, Notre Dame. A little spicy one for you, 8:45. You staying up late for this one?
Oh, absolutely.
Fighting Irish?
Absolutely. No work the next day. 8:45. That's not really that late, but once we took care of Indiana, and like the final score looks a little closer than that really was, but that was really really cool to see a home playoff game. But as soon as we did get the win, and you look up, hey, who are we playing? And it's like, ooh,
yeah,
Georgia. Yikes! I don't think Georgia is nearly as strong as they've been the past 2 years. News just came out yesterday. Starting quarterback Carson Beck is out after surgery. One of the premier linebackers for Notre Dame is out. But I'm going to pick Notre Dame, but very scared of Georgia, just really the SEC in general.
I'm picking Georgia. I just would seem foolish it's nothing really against Notre Dame. It's more of just like, well, I'm going to pick against Georgia in a playoff game where they had an extra week and we're a 2 seed. Yeah, no, I don't. It just seems
fair.
Just doesn't seem like the right move here. As well as Notre Dame. I'm not saying they're not a football program, but I wouldn't put them at the Georgia level. I'd say this is more a year that they're on, and maybe Georgia's a little down, but I don't know if that evens it out quite as close as you want. I think it's just a really good Georgia school with a lot of good players on it.
Agreed.
So that's what we got for college football. I don't know how we fix the blowouts. I think they're inevitable, but I think eventually some of these teams will face each other, and it might even happen this round where we will get some close games. There's no way that just continues to be blowouts, right? Something's going to be good.
I think so.
All right. Speaking of something being good, college basketball, lots of close games. Some games not so close. We attended MSG the last Saturday here for some afternoon games where we saw UNC versus UCLA, the UNC closers, as I'm calling them now.
Oof.
Some terrible shot selections from UCLA specifically. The mid-range fast break by choice is what I'm calling it. Is a choice. It's not forced by the defense. I doubt any coach has ever told you to take that shot. It's a pull-up mid-range on a fast break, and it's very. I don't understand it. Can you explain it? It's not even a good 90 shot?
No.
Is what I'm trying to explain. Like it's.
No, I can't explain it, and it wasn't just once. It was like multiple times, and it was like you would have been better off. Just UCLA would have been better off just dribbling up, getting over half court, dribbling it, and then 2 seconds on the shot clock, just punting it into the stands. Just why are you shooting the ball, inefficient shot, as fast as you can to give it to UNC, who already wants to get out in the break? And mid-range shot, there's a good chance it's gonna be a little bit longer of a rebound, and like they're gonna be off to the races. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, or if you are going to do it, and what really killed me about it is, like, I understand maybe one time, and if you make it, it's fine. All right, this is the no, yes, it goes in, fine, you get away with it. But by like the third one, he'd gone like 0-3 on these attempts. It's like, all right, this is not only a bad shot, but you're not like learning this is a bad shot, that you can't even make this shot. This is by choice, as I said, to continuously take.
UCLA was in control of this game like the whole time. And then even in the second half, like midway through, when UNC went on a 12-2 run, it was still like they still had a cushion. It was still 6-7 points, and then it wasn't. And they just collapsed. I mean, that's the only way to describe it. Like you said, UNC closers.
Well, the ACC needed it, so you're welcome for that one. Kentucky did not have a very good day. This was probably the most shocking thing I've seen in college basketball this year. This was an Ohio State blowout, and not like the second half. Like the whole game was very much in control by Ohio State. Where the Kentucky team I've seen this entire year couldn't get stops. They never got into any offense. They didn't shoot very well, and I'm sure they can point to that and say that's why they lost. But they just generally did not play well. I can't say one thing that Ohio State did well to force them to do any of that, or even what Ohio State did that was so successful that put them up by 20 points. But just not a great Kentucky game. I think this is a fluke. I've seen this team look way superior most of the year. It is a fluke for Ohio State as well. They have not looked great this year. So
No.
I don't know which one to buy in here. I think this is a fluke for both ways. Or are you suddenly looking at one of these teams very differently?
No, I think it has to be some sort of fluke. I mean, I've seen, the Ohio State results, lost by double digits at Texas A&M. That's not a surprise, but, lost to Maryland by 20-24. And then, Auburn's really good, but they actually, they got destroyed. I mean, almost 40 points. Like, even if you're not a very good, Ohio State team, I mean, to lose by 40, like, you're not expecting that. And so for this to be the team that not just like beats Kentucky, but like you said, beats them soundly. It wasn't some sort of fluke at the very end or, a really hot 3-point shooting, just some sort of, aberration. It was like they were up, close to 10 at the half, and they just like continued to just build on this lead. So yeah, it was very unlike Kentucky. I don't know if it's, this time of year in college, the schedule gets a little wonky with Christmas and finals, and I don't know, maybe there was something more internal going on. But
it is a road game or neutral site at MSG. Perhaps there's some extra travel. That's a holiday. I don't know. Who knows? There's something just didn't add up that day.
But I mean, it'll be interesting to see how this continues. But so they drop. I think they dropped 6 spots in the AP poll. On KenPom, they went from 11th to 26th, and in the net, they went from, I believe it was 9 to 19th. So it wasn't some sort of like, sometimes there's a loss and it seems weird, but it's like, oh no, this was a good loss. Like, this was bad across the board. This was unexpected. You rarely see a move that heavy on the on the net or in KenPom.
I think they'll be back. I think the team's too good to beat that team again. What do we got on the horizon this week? What are we looking out for?
Not too much with the holidays. Really a bit of a lull before we're gonna have conference starting off, but we do have a couple of nice games on Saturday. Mississippi at Memphis. There are not a lot of opportunities for teams to beat SEC schools, so especially playing at home, Memphis, it would be a real great opportunity for them. That's going to be at 2:00 on Saturday, and then afterwards, I would say by far the most premier game of the week is going to be Gonzaga at UCLA, 4:00 Saturday.
All right, we'll be back next week with some more college basketball updates. Let's wrap everything up here with the NBA, and then should I play the anthem for the Emirates Cup? The Bucks have won. Did you see the banner they put up?
No.
Well, first of all, the Lakers put up a banner last year, and it actually kind of still looks it looks very different from a championship banner. I don't want to say it looks like a championship banner, but it looks more like a championship banner than the Bucks one that looks like it was printed out on like Microsoft Word 99. Like, it's literally just NBA Cup Champions 2024. There's no decoration on it. There's no like team logo. There's no Emirates anything. Like, it's just literally the text on a banner. It's choice. If you go look at their actual championship banners, they're also very, very, very bland. I just, if we're gonna hang things up to show them off, I think they could be a little bit more design friendly. I think there's plenty of people out there that could come up with some graphic designs that look very superior to all this. The Lakers one looks phenomenal in compared to this. You already feel a certain way about hanging these banners all together. Do you think that's really what they're going for? That this is such an unimportant banner to not hang up, or like should this look better?
I think it goes to the rings culture where I think the teams would prefer, especially the Lakers and the Bucks have won have won championships recently. So then this mid-season new thing to have to hang a banner is definitely mandated by the NBA. I think the teams would maybe prefer to have something else, because it almost seems like when a team puts like the Nets or something put, Atlantic Division champions. Like, really? All right, well, if that's your level for success, all right, knock yourself out. But I think the NBA is pushing it as they're doing with all of this to say, hey, no, no, this is important. And they're just keep saying that, like, this is important. So you have to hang a banner because this is important.
Well, whether you want to value it or not, I thought it was a success, though. I thought we got a decent game. I thought we got two good teams currently in the NBA playing well, playing each other. I thought Giannis was great in the championship game. The cup and the semantics of rewarding all this, I understand, are they're complicated to a point that I don't think they really gained a whole lot of value. But we got some good games during time of year where we don't always get good games. So that was the point of the NBA Cup. We should also get some good games every Christmas. We got some great games hopefully this week. Do you think any of these games will actually be good?
Yes. I think during the day, not so much. I think this was a little more of the markets as well as maybe the teams haven't performed up to expectations. But I think the nighttime games are gonna be really good.
Well, let's just do our quick little picks here then. 12 p.m. Spurs at Knicks. I got the Knicks in this one. The Wemby thing, I'm just it's a weird thing. Did you see he's hit like more threes now than like Steph did in his second year or something stupid like that?
Oh
Uh,
wow.
I think that's because Steph missed an entire year, but still, that there's something weird going on with that he's still launching threes, and I'm not sure if this is going to slow down and if I should be impressed by it or continuously being like, I don't know if that's what he should be doing. Like, I just think he's so far from the basket and he's doing it. Not my favorite team to watch there. I got the Knicks in this one. I think they're just a little bit more watchable, a little bit more prepared. Who you got in this one?
Yeah, Knicks are gonna cover the spread. Yep. Nice early, get things started off. Probably a bunch of people that have never seen Wembanyama play before get to see him and just Google it. Like, this guy is enormous, and probably just what you mentioned, a lot of why is this guy launching so many threes? He is enormous. Get him closer to the hoop.
I mean, look,
And so
it would be fun if he got like 50 at MSG on Christmas. Would it not? If Wemby just went crazy, like 10 blocks, something absurd, it could happen.
10 blocks, much more likely than the 50 points.
Yeah, with Brunson on the other team, yeah, he could block Brunson all day. Next game, 2:30, Timberwolves at Mavericks. I think this is going to be a fun game where we get to see how fun the Mavericks are and how like not fun the Timberwolves are. I think this Timberwolves
Yeah,
team
how
is
did the Timberwolves? The Timberwolves used to be fun, and now they're at 500. Like, the season ended today. They're the worst team in the play-in game. Like, they were like in the mix last year. Everybody, loved Ant, and now he's giving weird press conferences. I mean, they're mostly weird because you're losing. When you're winning, it just goes more smooth. But when you got to make comments, and it's time after time about like, oh well, why'd we lose this time, and why are we not focused? And yeah, it's been just a real downer for that team.
not a jolly team, not a jolly day for that team. I got the Mavericks at home. It's good luck for Minnesota. The problems they have is that they tweaked with it too much. Like they did too many changes. This team doesn't have the same identity as last year, and the identity they do have is not good enough, or at least not gelling enough. I don't know if I've even seen it work enough to think that like they should keep this. Like I think they're forced now to the point where they have to continue to make more changes. Like I don't think they just try to continue to make this work. I think you take this isn't working right now and you try to get back to what it was. It's gonna be a waste of a year though, is it not?
It sure feels that way.
Next game, 5 p.m. 76ers at the Boston Celtics. I anticipate Embiid will play. I hope Tatum plays. He has been taking some knee days off here and there, but they had a physical game
I
last
think he
night.
was. I think he was sick last night.
It was. I hear the knee thing isn't like 100% either, though. I know he had that like awesome 40 triple double the other day, so like I think he's fine, but I do think that's still lingering.
It's hard to tell with the rest, but I feel like Tatum always talks himself into being allowed to play, and he like rests the least. Definitely out of the people on the on the Celtics, but it just kind of like right beforehand, just like kind of odd. So hopefully it was just had a stomach bug, and we'll be feeling much better with a couple days rest.
I think regardless of the lineups, the Celtics will win. I'll be more curious. I'll ask you this actually: how many how many Sixer starters are we going to get? You think this will be full strength?
Well, no, right? Because you're sure not getting McCain, so he was a starter, and I have to imagine by now we would have heard if Embiid was going to get suspended. But what do you think? I mean, he got ejected. It was pretty early on. I know he made contact with the official, but and Christmas. The NBA's gotta let them play, right?
This is a bad look for the NBA. I think if they were to do it letter of the law, anybody who's ever touched a ref, whether it was on purpose or not on purpose, you're just too large and strong of an athlete to be threatening around anybody in the workplace like that. I think letter of the law would suspend him, but I think he'll ultimately get a huge fine and he'll still have play Christmas because they absolutely want. You tell me Netflix doesn't want this to happen. Netflix will pay the fine if they could play. Like it just. Or this is on Netflix. This is on NBA. What am I
No,
saying?
yeah,
That'd be a mess for Netflix though. If that was the situation here. No. ESPN wants them to play though. They want eyeballs on this one. I think this is going to be the best
yeah.
game of the day though. All right, both got Boston down. 8 p.m.
You think
Lakers at
you think
Warriors.
that you think the Celtics Sixers is gonna be the best game of the whole day?
I actually do.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. Well, did we not talk about the one you? Which one do you think is going to be? You think it's going to be Lakers Warriors?
I think it'll be Lakers Warriors or Nuggets Suns. I think those are gonna be closer. I think the Celtics, especially after what happened in Orlando, I think we were looking a little bit ahead. And at home on Christmas, I think that it's gonna be similar to the Knicks that we're just gonna take care of business at home.
Hmm. Yeah, I think we'll take care of business. I think the Warriors will also take care of business. I don't think the Lakers are in a good place right now. Not that the Warriors are thriving either, and that's kind of why I don't really love this game. Is this is like aging stars at this point, like where I'm watching guys try to do things they used to be able to do and not do them as well, and they're going to do it to each other this time. Yeah, I don't know about that.
Wait a minute. So you want to see the old guys play in the Olympics, but now in the regular season, now you don't want to see them? That was only like 4 months ago.
Why? They're still good players. I still think they have the right to be in the Olympics. I just don't think these are good teams right now, and they're part of them.
I think that they're going to be able to go in the Wayback Machine for one day, and they both know how important Christmas Day games are. So whatever juice they got, they're going to bring it.
I hope so. I think the last game is going to be the same problem. Nuggets at Suns. 10:30. This is an underwhelming matchup to me. Like these are two teams that are hobbling a little bit right now, and I don't think at full strength aren't the teams that they expected to be. And honestly, you're just probably exhausted at this point. So I don't think it's going to be quite as rewarding a game. The only road team that I think has got a chance to win this week is the Nuggets, though. I will give you that. So maybe does ultimately end up being the best game. Like, what road team are you going with here?
Depends on.
We're not doing Spurs. We're
Uh,
not doing Timberwolves. We're not doing Sixers. You've never done Lakers. Are you doing Nuggets at Suns? Like, is that the road team?
yeah, Nuggets. I'll pick the Nuggets to win. They've had their troubles, but I'd like to see Joker get a win on the road.
Yeah. Well,
And I think the Nuggets are better.
10:30. We'll see if I make it that late. All right. This is. I don't think I'm going to make it this late on New Year's. 10:30. Any other NBA thing you want to get into here? You want to talk about the Celtics last night?
Just like, did you have any concerns? Lost
Zero.
3 of the last 6.
None.
It's a bit of a rough patch compared to other teams, but just last night was, I think we only made 8 threes. Tatum was out, but just a little bit of a rough patch.
I think we've been still competitive. I still think we have moments where our offense looks incredible with the ball movement. Last night we kind of lost faith in the ball movement for the first time in a while, where Jalen had the ball, was just cooking, and I understand him keeping the hot hand and kind of making things happen on his own, but it really subtracts from the guys around you if you don't move the ball. So we fell into a little bit of that trap yesterday. But ultimately, this was a really physical game that if you had to ask me what sort of game do you want to get ready for the playoffs for, this was the type of game. I want you to get to beat the shit out of you, guys reaching, guys being physical, guy gets ejected. Like Missoula would have loved this. This was excellent training for us because that's the only thing we need at this point is just preparations and trainings. If we're not, we already proved the proof of concept of winning a championship last year. It's more of just like, remember that you can still take a beating and then give one out the next game. And that's kind of what these losses have been. It's like, oh man, we gotta take a couple punches to just toughen up, and that's what it is. We're gonna give them out. I hope Christmas here this will be a great game. I'm not worried at all though. I still think there's a toughness to this team that's I think you could point to maybe the fragileness of when we don't get calls, and maybe that was last night's kind of an example of a team got physical with us, and if we're going to continue and complain with the refs, we're going to lose that game. So I just liked it. I liked seeing us just train really tough with another team like Orlando. I thought they played us so tough. It was such a physical game. I'm not worried.
I think some of the concern, it's not even the physicalness so much as that the Magic, they're pretty short-handed. I mean, I feel like they always play us tough. I mean, that's what they do. I think if this was last year or the year before, I'd be much more concerned. But Like we won the championship. We got the blueprint. We know what we're doing. And I think this is just, and we have the luxury of going 500 for, a week or two, and that could be what we're concerned about. It's not, a losing streak. It's just, oh man, we're only 500 for a little bit. So it's just a nice luxury to have.
We're all right. I think Missoula loves it. If Missoula started getting worried, or if Missoula was freaking out more, rather than just being the sick psycho indulging in all of it, I'd be worried. But I think he's exactly.
He was pretty upset a couple games ago against Chicago.
I love that. I thought that was the right day too.
His answers in the press afterwards were funny about when they asked him, "Hey, what were you trying to say to the referees, or what'd you say to them?" He's just like, "Oh, happy holidays, Merry Christmas." You don't see these guys all the time. You're not sure when you're gonna see them again. And he just said it such deadpan. Like he's just he gets it.
He gets it. I'm not worried about him at all. I'm not worried about the Celtics at all. I think everybody is in the right place of where they need to be to do this all over again. I mean, just every other team. Even Milwaukee, who's kind of found a little bit of a groove right now, there's just no way you would say you would pick them over us. We're just a safe bet right now. Everyone else has so many more problems. If our problems are going to be we're going to go 500 for 6 games in December, I mean, you tell me how many other teams wish they had these problems. Like you said, it's a luxury. We're good. All right, anything else for the NBA or anything else you want to add to the podcast?
Ooh, just really hope that the Celtics just really take it to the Sixers tomorrow and just continue to push Philly just down deeper into that hole.
Special Merry Christmas to everyone. Happy holidays. We will be back, I assume, next week. I think we'll be back on Monday. I don't know. We'll figure this out.
We'll be back.
You might see us before next year. If not, Happy New Year with all of that as well. Remind everyone to subscribe. We are on Spotify. We are on Amazon Music, YouTube Music, Facebook page, and you can follow Zach on his X account, which is
Wicked Z-Man 24.
Anything else for the people out there?
Go Celtics.
Go C's. Eat a lot of food. Stay warm.
One last. I do have one last thing to add. I meant it for last week. Good news. Dickie V, cancer free. Hope to see him back on the airwaves soon.
Can't wait. Love to see Dickie V. Great. Maybe we can get him back for March Madness.
That'd be awesome.
Little column A, little column B.